Hello everyone, it is I, Sevens, and welcome to the channel. This is the first episode in my series where I'm going to be showing some of my game development for my new platformer game. Now, if this is your first time here, I am an aspiring game developer with more of a pixel art background rather than a coding background. I recently released my first game. You can find it on Steam. It is called Cosmolon. Quite proud of it, but it's time for me to move on to my next project. And with these videos, this style, one that you're watching now, I will be going over aspects of my game as I'm developing it. I won't be doing this long-winded intro every single time, but I will do it to start us off with the first episode. So the plan for the channel and these types of episodes is relatively simple. I'm shooting to do two pretty well edited videos each week, and shooting to have those out Mondays and Wednesdays. There should already be a few, and then on Friday, when, fingers crossed, when this video comes out, it's kind of like me doing it live. There's not really a script with it. I have a rough idea, like beforehand, what I want to cover and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be a video that just shows my progression. Moving on to the actual thing, this is a platformer game that I'm working on. I don't know all of the aspects yet, and I don't really have a planned release date, but following along with this series will hopefully solve some of those. I have done the what's kind of known as a feasibility analysis in a way, my kind of way of doing it, and I feel like a platformer is something that I can do. I have increased the bar of like what I want the game to be compared to Cosmolon. Cosmolon was great, and I followed a fantastic guide by Brano. You can find his guide on YouTube. It's great. But I want to try and figure out more stuff, and I want to even extend more the art side of it as well. So with this game, the art style was pulling heavily from a game close to my heart, which is Commander Keen, specifically 4. It was back on the MS-DOS a good bit ago. It shows my age a little bit. I'm pulling from the perspective of it. It's going to be a platformer, but it's going to look like it's in a 3D space, which is a challenge. I found it to be a challenge. I'll show you here. So right here, I've pulled up a sprite, and we can kind of see the part of it that is going to be a slight challenge. Let's see if I could pull up a pin. So we have this ground right here, and we're going to be using this ground, not this exact type. I'm going to hand draw more of it, more types of ground. Right now we're at the beginning stages. I'm mostly just trying to get ground done. I'm not going to be making all the ground right now. We're trying to get the game functional, and my first plan is to get the player character to be able to navigate, which I'll show you the player character in a second. But the ground here, it's a little bit complicated from an art side to draw from this angle because I have to keep track of certain edges, and that becomes more noticeable in Godot, which is the game engine I'm using, the same for Cosmolon. But the thing that we're tackling today for episode 1 is that I have recently finished the art that you can see here. And this should cover a good chunk of the foreground for an ice level. And I'll add more things like spikes and things like that later. But the thing that I have to keep in mind is we are now trying to add collision. And so what that basically means is I don't want the player to just fall through the ground. And what I have to do is, although this, as you see, this tile set right here is kind of like the majority is on one of these, and this is 16 right there. That's 16 by 16. What I have to do, because I have this bar of expectation, is that although it is drawn at an angle and it's drawn 16 by 16 chunks, the actual game is going to register it at right about, let's see, hold on, I gotta get it just right. The game is going to register it at an 8 by 8. This is an 8 by 8. And the reason for this is, let's pretend that the color red right now is going to be the collision for the ground to prevent the player character from falling. What happens is the player character will be standing on this collision like this. I know, fantastic pixel art right here. And if we change the opacity, you can kind of see what this does. So the player character is still right here, but this is going to be the collision. And so this part of the tile, the top part, is nothing. It's going to have no collision whatsoever. It's just going to be there for decor to make it look like you're traversing a slightly 3D space. And I think it's going to be really cool. This is a style that I've seen in a few games, but the first time I've ever saw it was in Commander Keen 4, which was made by Apogee, if I'm thinking correctly, or produced by Apogee, and it was an id Software game. So go check that out. It's really cool. I believe it's also on Steam too. Now what we're looking at here is the player character, because I want to show you the different frames that I've made. They are not all in the game yet, and something did happen. This is a great learning point. I had it where the head and the chest and the arms and the legs and everything was separate, but I needed it to be flattened for a moment. Flat meaning all of the layers compacted onto one layer, thus the base layer. But what ended up happening was, I believe I exited out of a sprite and it saved it as it's all being flat. And now I don't have the ability to control the Spectre's head and all that stuff. So that was something that I have to figure out later. I'm right now kind of avoiding it. But yeah, so this is our little guy. The Spectre, I haven't named yet. I got some storyline elements, but that's not really here right now. I wanted to go with the Spectre because I wanted to make parts of my life easy and parts of it really cool. So his walking animation is like that and just kind of hovers and floats and stuff, which I like. And there's several different idle animations that, you know, like this one. I love this, that the Spectre has. So yes, there's that. And then later in the game, it'll make sense. But later in the game, the Spectre will get a cloak that kind of like comes into existence and disappears. And that is what allows the Spectre to move. And the Spectre uses a scythe. And I'm still kind of new to some of these like attack animations and things, but I feel like I think I did pretty well with them at this point. So yeah, that's the Spectre. Now let us move over to Godot and let us try and figure this out. Now, since I'm recording this all in one chunk, I might skip ahead a little bit to the point where actual progress is being made. So this is what I was talking about. This is the same artwork that came in, and up here, scrolling, there we go. So this blue part has been painted with collision, meaning, you know, ghost won't fall through, and this has nothing, which is great. And same right here. But the problem is now I need to make this go all the way up here, and it needs to be repeated. And I tried this before and I had a lot of difficulty. And we have to get it pretty close. I've been following another guide explaining some of this stuff. The guide is by another fantastic YouTuber named Brackies. And the channel goes over this part that we're actually trying to accomplish pretty in depth. And I highly recommend that video. The only reason why I'm not fully going with that video is the fact that there's only one in the series, and that could be problematic for those learning to do this. Alright, so we now have ones figured out. So if I did this correctly and I go like this would be 2, and this should be 1 again. These two right here we have to make, but this should equal up. Yes, that should be correct. So now we need to make 2's, which will behave different. Ones, I'll explain in a second. Let me first get the collision. Okay, whew, that took some time. So basically, we have this piece right here. And this piece is going to allow the tile set to connect to like these pieces up here because it's flat. But I had to create an incline, and so this roughly repeats itself. So this is all 0. I nicknamed it 0. And then these two is essentially 1, like nicknamed 1. And then as you see with this red rough chart I made, 1 repeats every so often, and then 2 repeats every so often. So when we want to stop the incline, we have to do 1 again with this special piece, which is kind of nicknamed as 3, and then this piece. Not this one, but this piece. And then this is flat, and it starts all over again. So now we need to do the collision on the other side. Now, I don't know if it's going to work where I can just inverse the decline, but I'm going to now try and do that. Okay, so now that we have the collision down, we need to test if it all aligns in terms of it actually being playable in the game. So I'm going to now paint an environment for our little Spectre dude. It'll be a very, very, very simple kind of environment. We will now just give him some floors, something probably just the default kind of like cliff edge. And obviously the Spectre dude is going to be able to go through like all of it. So I had to change, this is important, down here under the tile map layer, I had to change the ordering Z index to -1. I have a cat joining me. Now we're adding some little spots here and there to make it look nice. Oh, don't hit the monitor. Don't hit the screen. Okay, we have this. So, oh, and we need to also test, let me check. Yes, I did. All right, we need to also test if the top ceiling portion of it was covered as well. So let us set that up as well. This is just going to be to test if, again, if the top of it is covered. Yeah, I got all the edges there. Alright, so let's press, first let's save, and now let's press play and see what happens. Oh, I have some 2s right there. I need to remove that. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, here's our little guy. Good, he's hitting the wall. Gotta make sure I don't run out of health here. All the edges seem fine. I know he kind of hovers on this edge, but I can always work on that later. Let's see. Good, that's also an edge. We wanted that. And then this is working fine. Good. Now here's the part that I've been having trouble with, is the incline. So the issue would be, originally, when he would go up, he would get stuck on something, like an edge. So let's see. Works pretty well. He kind of bounces a little bit, but I think I'm okay with this setup. So he's got some attack moves that slow down his speed when he's attacking. So let's see if moving while attacking, how that does with the collision. Seems fine. Now let's check the other side, which, if done correctly, should be identical. So jumps down a bit, and then when going back up, good. Yeah, that works. And then we'll do the final test, because it's always good to replicate your tests with attacking, since it slows down the speed. Hi. So, it all worked. Now, because we only put the collision in certain areas, he will fall through a little bit in some of these little gaps, creates pockets and stuff. But that's not a huge deal, as long as you know not to have it where the character will go through that. And finally, I used the tile map layer node for everything you've seen here. I have built the other things already, like the essence bar, which represents life. This was a little bit difficult to implement, and I had to do some shenanigans to make it work. As you could tell, there's on the left is a bunch of nodes and stuff. I wanted it to really have a good look to it. But the shenanigans that were in play was I had to create a front and a back plate, and then the essence bar is actually like really tiny. I don't know, but it ended up working out pretty well. And then certain triggers would happen, making the skull itself turn red. With another, there's several things here, several like animations at play. I can show that as well. When you run out of life essence, like this, it breaks down in the bottom left. You will die in the game, but that's what happens with that. So that is something I will work on later, like actually having it kill the Spectre dude. But yeah, I think that covers it for the first one. We went over collision, and we went over what I've been doing with this art style. I think it'll look really nice. I'm still working on some backgrounds as well. There's a lot of other details that I want to make, but for now, I think that covers it. So make sure you like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you around, and I will continue working on this. So, all right, bye.